The new Dandadan episodes are finally here, and what more can I say except cheers for another week of being fed a full course meal. So the episode starts off with Momo's granny recording for her TV show where she exposes people's secrets with her psychic powers. But unfortunately this time she went 0 for 3. You're 27 years old. You have a wife and kids. You like curry. So right after that, she proceeds to leave the set and we see her colleagues talking about her saying, man, props to Santa Dodoria because being that wrong has to be a skill for sure. So she gets in a cab and heads over to her crib, and this is where we pick up where we left off last episode. And bro, the amount of times you've seen Momo get touched without her consent and have her legs spread apart is ridiculous. I mean, it only happened 2 times, but that's still one too many times. And before Turbo Granny could get to doing anything devious, that's when Momo's granny pulls up and hits her with an aura special. She then taunts her and Turbo Granny responds by trying to instant transmission sneak Momo's granny. But that didn't work because Momo's granny is 2 steps ahead. And she explains the reason Turbo Granny couldn't get to her is because she set up a barrier beforehand knowing that Turbo Granny would try to come for a blind spot. And if Turbo Granny tries to exit the barrier, she will die. Momo's granny then closes in on her and they have this dope ass face off. And unlike Ken, Momo's granny has zero intentions of folding under pressure. And despite being trapped, Turbo Granny tries to come off threatening, talking about some
I'll eat and kill you. Do you think you can trap me here forever?
Momo's granny then responds saying,
last time I checked, you're not an NBA player and I'm not a gold-digging slut. So I have zero reason to trap you. I want to kill you.
So she swings and pushes Turbo Granny into the barrier, and from there on she just kept going. She then walks her down while making the barrier smaller, and when she swings again, Turbo Granny blocks the bat and tries to bargain saying,
Hey, if you kill me, you kill the kid that I possessed, okay? I'm just letting you know, okay?
And Momo's grandma responds saying,
I don't care.
Proceeds to off-screen her. We then cut to Momo finally waking up and rushing downstairs, and that's when we get to fully see how sexy Momo's granny is. And look, I'm not like you losers who spank their shit to 2D women, but I'll make an exception this one time because Yukinobu Tatsu had no business making a 50-year-old plus woman this sexy. So Momo's panicking asking what Ken is, but her granny's just there trolling her until she lets up and tells her he's in the main shrine. So she rushes over there, and once she sees Ken is okay, she's relieved, irritated. I don't know with Momo, bro. I can never read her. So Momo's granny pops up and is like, yo, what's the deal with the niglet? And that's when Momo catches her up on what's happened in the previous episodes. And when Momo's granny heard that they have to fetch Ken's testicles from Turbo Granny, she then explained that Turbo Granny is a ridiculously OP monster. Reason being, she merged with a location-bound spirit, which makes her really strong within her territory. And then she was then stating that Momo's grandma said Momo should just cut ties with Ken and keep it pushing because there's no hope. But Momo wasn't budging and said that ain't the right thing to do. And when Momo's granny heard that, she was like, okay, and proceeded to brief the both of them on how they can beat Turbo Granny, which is 1, they have to challenge Turbo Granny to a game of tag. 2, while running away from her, they have to manage to get her out of the territory. And 3, once she's outside, that's where they have a chance of beating her. And Momo's granny also clarifies that she can't help them out because when she leaves their territory, she loses her powers as well as she draws strength from the gods of her land. So because of that, she plans on training them the following day so that they don't struggle with Turbo Granny. And that's when we cut to the following day. But before we can get to the serious matches, we see that the nigga Momo's granny was reading at the beginning of the episode was actually lying, and that she was actually right about everything. And my question is, why did he lie about the curry? I understand lying about the 2 other things because his public image is most likely that he's a charming bachelor, but there's absolutely no reasonable excuse as to why he did that. I feel like he just wanted to make her look bad by any means necessary. But back to the serious shit, which is Granny Seiko's amazing titties. Broski, look at the jiggle physics. Are you seeing this? So while Momo and her granny were looking over Ken while he shat, Turbo Granny hijacked Ken's body and proceeded to press Momo in her own crib and threatens her grandmother's life. And when that happened, that's when these niggas had to skip the training arc and go deal with the wrinkled, fast granny with the saggy titties expeditiously. And man, look at the outfits. They're just too clean. Oh my goodness. So they get on the train and finally make it to the tunnel. And when they were at the entrance, they did better than 90% of the niggas in horror movies, as they decided to walk in side by side because what the fuck are y'all niggas doing walking into danger in a conga line? You'll easily get picked off. Are you dumb? They finally bump into Turbo Granny, and when they tried to hit the dash, she blocked them off on both sides. So Momo pulls the bats out and tried to attack her, but she ate that. And as y'all can see, I don't mean that figuratively. So they resort to transforming Ken, but Turbo Granny Ken gave him back his stick, which resulted in Ken being stripped of his powers. Turbo Granny goes in to feast on them, but that's when Momo pulls out her trump card and starts provoking her into playing a game of tag. So Turbo Granny agrees and Momo sets out the rules for the game, which is her and Ken will have a 10-minute head start, then Turbo Granny will start chasing them when the 10 minutes is up. But this bitch then started cheating and counts up to 10 minutes weirdly so she can finish counting in less than 7 seconds. She then pulls out the Mojito special and spawns arms out the ground which capture Momo. She then trolls Ken by continuing to count in a weird way, and when Ken asks why she's counting like that, she explains that Momo never specified how she should count. And that's when she closed in on Ken planning to do something nefarious, but he immediately pounced on her and started biting her tit. And I'm not gonna lie, that's exactly how I'd be moving if Granny Seiko let me. But you hear Turbo Granny saying to Ken, "How dare you suck my tits without permission?" And I'm confused because didn't she take Ken's dick without permission as well? So she tries to shake him off, but that didn't work because Ken has a grip tighter than virgin lips, and her strength is low because of the fit Ken's rocking. And as soon as she realized that, she went ahead and possessed his body and planned on going to eat Momo, but Momo got a power boost and was able to subdue Turbo Granny's aura while being in the cocoon. And when Turbo Granny felt what she was doing, she started spazzing and sped up to go feast on Momo, but the moment she got in close proximity with Momo, her aura got diminished and Ken took possession of his own body. But the moment that happened, that's when the location bound spirit came out to play, and boy did these niggas hit the jets. They were moving like Olympic level runners, and now that they got Turbo Granny again, they can use her powers. So Ken transforms and they take off, and shit was looking good for them for a minute until Ken ran off the road because Momo's heavy ass made it hard for him to turn the curve. So they started free falling, and that's when Ken pulled out his full throttle and turned his legs into turbines, looking like a Looney Tunes, but that didn't really help much. So just when they were about to get up, the location bound spirit died right next to them, and they wasted no time, went back on the race, and that's when we get this amazing first person view. And unfortunately I don't have the words to explain how amazing this shit is. Made me feel like I was playing a horror game. This is spectacular. So they go into a spa thinking the crab will struggle to move in narrow spaces, but that didn't work as this bitch proceeded to crash through the building. Fortunately Momo was quick to improvise and use the hot springs water to immobilize the crab. We then cut to them running down the road looking like they'll make it out of the city, but that's when they ambushed by a mob of people, and we find out that Turbo Granny called in reinforcements. So as a result of that, Momo and Ken got cornered, and that's when Momo looked over to Ken and said, "Yo, go full throttle." Are you sure? We're not even gonna make it to the next city. Nigga! Go full throttle, I don't wanna be here! And the following sequence of events was just pure cinema, as Ken was running around and Momo using her powers to make them swing around like Spidey, straight weaving these attacks. They get far enough and make it near the bridge where the train passes, but they fucked up as they let their guard down and Turbo Granny violated them as a result of Momo forgetting to keep hold on her. From there on, she started rambling about respect, and in all honesty, we don't give a fuck! So Turbo Granny merges with the crab and starts mocking Momo. But reminder, they're near a bridge where a train passes, and just in the nick of time, I'm still not sure if I'm using that phrase correctly, the train passes and Momo grabs a hold of it and gets her and Ken on it. And when Turbo Granny saw this, there was no hesitation. She wasn't letting these niggas escape. And Turbo Granny was on the boasting about how they're cooked. But if only she knew, this was all a part of Momo's plan as she holds her down on the train as it passes through the barrier her grandmother made.
From the bottom now we are a little bit higher from the bottom. I hope that the process knows that we are trusting it, but fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, we are locked in.